Hello everyone, so welcome back to my channel. For those who don't know me, my name is Aditya, and in this particular video we'll be learning about the main concept in Tableau, that is data blending. So basically, like if you're working in real-time industries, so you may have different data sources, right? Suppose you are having one data source in Google BigQuery and one in the Excel spreadsheet, and you want to blend these two things. Like Google BigQuery, you want to have some query, you want to select some query and you want to blend with the Excel spreadsheet that you are having. So at that time you should be knowing the concept of data blending, right? So how does it work in background? Because in Tableau you'll be seeing in front end, but the back end calculation, like how it is doing, that you should be knowing, so you can perform your good analysis, like the correct analysis, I would say. So I hope you guys are excited by now. So before deep diving into my video, so just one simple request, like which I do every time. Like if you are following my YouTube channel from a long period of time, and if you like my content and if you find this video meaningful, then do give it a like button and also subscribe to my channel and share it with your friends if possible. So now let us deep dive into my screen and see how data blending works in real world. So now let us try to understand what does data blending means. So basically, like the term suggests, like the data blending, so we are blending the data from different sources. So the same happen like when you're working in the real-time industry, so you may have data in the form of different format, right? You can have the data in the form of Excel or in the form of CSV file, or you can also have in the form of Google BigQuery or any SQL database, right? Or you can have also data in the form of special files. So basically, like we use special files like when we are doing the visualization in the map visualization and we want to go in a granular level, then we use special files. So suppose like you are doing a data blending and you are blending two data sources and you want to set up some relationship between the two data sources, then you want to perform your analysis. So suppose like you are connecting the Excel data source and one SQL database and you want to perform your analysis, then like data blending comes into picture. So I hope you are clear with the basic definition of data blending. So now let us try to understand like how does data blending work in the background. And once we are familiar with that, we'll be deep diving into Tableau and we will be performing data blending in Tableau. So you will get a big picture of it. And just one thing, like if you're following my YouTube from a long period of time, and if you're following my channel, and if you're liking the content, then do hit the subscribe button as it helped me a lot, and also share it with your friends if possible. So now let us move to next slide and try to understand what does data blending means. So what happen is, so basically like you are having two different data sources, right? So suppose you have data source ds1 and the another data source ds2. Okay, so these two are the separate data sources. So if you want to get the information from these particular data sources, so you need to run separate query, right? You need to queries out, you need to write one query to extract the data from the data source 1. Then you will be getting some kind of details from the data source what you want, right? And the same thing you need to do with the data source 2, that is the q2 query will be running from the data source 2 to extract the information from the data source, right? So what happen is, like whenever you are querying the data source, so it will be different queries. So now you want to do the data blending in these two data sources, so you need to have some linking field to link the data, right? So the linking field can be one or the two fields, or more than one field can also be there if you're performing data blending. So what happen is, like when the blending relationship is established, when you find the linking field, so you will be seeing two things in the Tableau interface. So the first thing is like your primary data source, like suppose in this case our primary data source was ds1, so it will be represented by this cylindrical icon with a blue tick on it. Okay, so this will be a primary data source, and the secondary data source will be represented via orange color, the cylinder icon and a tick on it. Okay, so what happen is, like whenever you're doing blending, right? So what happen is, like suppose you are doing data blending, so what happen is whenever you're performing data blending, so by default it will take the left join with your primary table. So your primary table will be the important table, like all the information in primary table will be conserved and some of the information which are not available in data source 2 will be lost, right? So you are familiar with left join, I am taking that into consideration. So if you are new to joins, I have also one video in joins in my playlist, so you can watch that to clear your concept. and then get back to this video. So now this is done, right? So basically what happens is, like, if you are drawing any dimension from the primary data source, so that will be shown in the Tableau interface, like that will have no error. But if you drag any dimension from the secondary data source, so you may see the asterisk sign. So Tableau is not able to identify like what does that dimension means. So what happened in background is, if you are dragging any dimension from the secondary data source, so you have performed the left join, remember? So at the left join, what happened is, like, suppose you have one field ID here and one ID here. You are performing left join using this ID linking field. So the ID which are in the left table will be preserved, but but some of the ID will be more in the secondary data source, that will be not available in the primary data source. So the primary data source doesn't have the information of that particular dimension. That's why this asterisk sign comes. So I hope you are clear with that. So we'll be seeing live in action in Tableau, so don't worry if you are not, if you have some confusion in this part. So this is how data blending works, and you can also edit the relationships. Like, suppose if you want to change the blending parameter, so the blending parameter will be, this blinking field will be designed by Tableau itself. By default Tableau will identify, but if you want to change, you can do that. So I hope you are clear with that. So one more thing is there, like, this data blending works only on the sheet level. Like, if you change the another sheet, so the data blending will be new for you. You can perform the data blending according to changing your primary and secondary data source. So this is worksheet level. Okay, so now let us try to see all this live in action in Tableau with the help of example. So let me just open the Tableau interface. So suppose in this example we are seeing the raw supplies data set. So I am just connecting in the raw supplies data set. So this is a data source 1, right? So in this particular case, what I am doing is I am using my order sheet and I am dragging to the right hand side to the Tableau shelf. So once I have dragged it, so you can see it is still loading. So let us wait for a second. So yeah, okay, cancel this, update now. Okay, so now the data set has been loaded, but you can see, like, the headers are not bright, right? You can see some null values here, and the column header is F2, F3. So something wrong in the Excel sheet. But the Tableau order this data interpreter option. So once you click on that, so it will automatically clean for you. So it will identify what is the correct header for your particular data set. So that shows the true capability of Tableau once again. So once you are done with that, so now you can see, like, all the data source have been corrected, right? Yeah, perfect. So now what I want to do is, suppose in this sheet you can see, like, one more thing, orders add-on. So these are the orders which are add-on afterwards. So one is the order sheet that contains order of certain customers, and one is the order add-on that might be added the later on but not have been clubbed with the order sheet, but we want to see as a single sheet, right? So at that time what we can do is we can do the union. So if we are doing union, so the number of columns should be same and the so number of columns should be same and the data type should be same. So in this particular case I have seen that and it is same. So we can just drag this and we can drag into the orders. So when you can see the union icon. So once you have done that, you can see this type of thing, like this boxes, like tables are union. So now what I want to do is I want to double click on that and I want to join the orders table with the returns table. So this is my first data source which I am preparing, and what I want to do is I want to preserve all the records that are present in the orders table and that are common in the returns table. So I hope you are clear by this. So now let us move on to sheet 1. So this was my first data source, right? So first data source contains the information of orders and the returns table, the person who are ordering and who are returning to the current customer. So now let us try to connect another data source. So in the Tableau interface you can see the plus icon. So in this particular case I am connecting to the same Excel spreadsheet, but I am connecting to the different sheet. So in this particular case what I am doing is I want the goal by region segment, like how much goal they have achieved. So you can see in this particular data set we have segments, the regions and the goals. Okay, so now once you move to sheet 1, after connecting this, so you can see, like, there are two data sources that we have connected, right? So now to establish data blending, so what we need to do is first we want to identify the primary data source. So in this particular case, our primary data source we want to take is the orders and returns table, right? So what we need to do is we need to drag we can drag the dimensions from the primary table, because it is a primary table, so it will contain all the information, right? So what we can do is, suppose I want to see the region, segment and the sales, okay, and click on show me, and I want to show in the form of table, right? So now once I have dragged all the information, so you can see a blue tick mark has been done. So this shows like this is the primary data source. So now what I want is, I want some information from the secondary data source to perform data blending. So what I want to see is, I want to see the goals for different segment and region. So once I drag this into show me, so now you can see like it has already calculated the value, right? And in the left hand side data pane, you can see like this has been established as a secondary data source, right? So what happened is, this is, you can see the pin icon. So this pin icon means the linking field. So now let us see like what is the relationship that Tableau has established by default. So to see that, what we can do is, we can go to the data in the ribbon section, and we can go to the edit blend relationship. So you can see a primary data source is orders. If you want to change it, we can change it from here also. Okay, I told you like we can edit the relationship if we don't like it, like if our analysis is not perfect. So in the right hand side, you can see like Tableau has by default has identified region and segment as the linking field in this both the particular data source, because that are the same field and like the same configuration they have, like data what we can say is like the data type is same and the value that they contain, the regions will be same in the both data sources, right? So that's why it has identified correctly. So now let us click on OK. So now suppose like if I want to change the linking field, suppose I want to see only by region. So if I deselect this segment linking field, if I stop this, so you can see now the values are again calculated. So now it is only according to the region wise, and if I click on it again, so now the value has been changed. And if I change this thing, so now it has been calculated by region wise. But if I unclick both the pins, so now it will show like fields cannot be used, because like I told you like for data blending we need to have some linking field, right? Without linking field, like data blending doesn't work. So I hope you are clear with that. So now let us turn this on. So I hope you are clear with that. So now let us try to perform one more. What I want to do is, suppose I want to filter it by year. So I can also do like filter will work when you are doing data blending. So once I click on data blending and I just selected 1 year, I want to see for only 1 year. So now you can see like the sales value have been changed per year value, right? And the goal will be same. So that's how data blending works. So now let us take one more example. So now let us take one more example. Suppose this time what I want to do is, I want to see my goal sheet as the primary data source. So what I can do is, I can just drag the dimensions and measures from my primary data source and show in the form of table, right? Now what I want is, I want some, so now you can see in the secondary data source, like this is the linking field which these two data sources are connected, right? So suppose what I want is, I want to see the customer name from the secondary data source. So if I'm dragging this customer name and I'm clicking on add all members, so you can see the star icon, so it is not able to recognize in Tableau, and you can see a orange cylinder icon here, right? So this is the secondary data source. So at that time what happened is, like our primary data source was goals by region, right? And this doesn't contain the information of customer's name, and our data is blended with the region and segment wise, okay? So and it has performed the left join that we have studied. So all the records that are preserved in the goals table will be preserved, but this extra details is not available, right? So that's why like this data blending is showing the star icon, because it has performed the left join, so it doesn't contain the information of all the customers in our primary data source. So that's why it is not able to show that. So this mostly happen when you encounter in Tableau the star icon. So most of you, like you maybe have searched in internet like why does this happen. So this is the reason like why it happened in Tableau. So I hope you are clear with this data blending basic exercise. So this was a small video to understand about data blending. So see you in the next video. If you have made this far in this particular video, then I congratulate you all that you have learned the main concept of data blending. So see you soon in the next video, and don't forget to subscribe and like the video. Bye bye.